Good. I thank God we're here, we're alive, we're Jews, we're learning the Torah, we're human beings, we're above the ground's not on us. And here we're learning, we're trying to bring the future redemption, and it shouldn't be future, it should be present, and by learning about it. Okay. So yesterday we had it stopped suddenly. What was there was some sort of a technical problem. One of the myriads of potential problems it could be. One of them happened to us, and I don't exactly remember what it was. But okay. Oh, so the Rebbe is talking about the month of Tammuz, which is the fourth month of the year, and it receives from the third month of the year, which is Sivan, which is when we received the Torah. And the month of Tammuz is ostensibly not a good month. Not a good month. That was the month when the the destruction of the temple began. Destruction of the temple began in Tammuz. Yud Zayin Tammuz. They burst through the walls on Yud Zayin Tammuz. So, but on the other hand, it's a good month. It's a month that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe got out of prison, was sent to exile, and shortly thereafter was freed. It was the month that Joshua stopped the sun. So that's the idea of number 3 and number 4. In Hebrew, the number 3 is Gimel, which means to give, and the number 4 is the letter Dalid, which means to be poor. So the Rebbe says there's two types of poverty. There's poverty where a person realizes that nothing that he has is his own. He could be a multi-trillionaire, as rich as possible, but he realizes that it's not him that's rich. It's God is giving him everything, and God is giving him himself. Right? So it's not just, everything I have belongs to God. I myself belong to God. I'm being created. Everything's being created all the time. So that's a type of, realization of deep, deep gratitude and humility. That's represented by the letter Daled. On the other hand, there's another type of poverty, which is egotism. Egotism where you are separate from God. You don't care anything about God. And then even if you have millions, so you're missing out on the big treasure, which is your creator. Your creator. So by being separate, you are separating yourself from the whole source of all riches and meaning and life and love. So that's represented by the letter Resh. Letter Resh. So here we go. I don't even exactly remember what we got up to now. So he says the difference between the two of them is on the letter Resh, it doesn't have this little point that comes out the back. See, Dalet is like a straight line on the top, right? And that straight line extends beyond the bottom line. Well, it ends up that it makes a little sort of a letter Yud. That overhang over there, says the Rebbe, that's the point of surrender to God. That indicates surrender to God. And the letter Resh doesn't have that. So that indicates a different type of a poverty. Dalut and Resh, both those words mean poverty, but this is two different types of poverty. This is a positive type of poverty where you are humble. And the other one is a negative type of poverty where you're impoverished spiritually. I want to call it spiritually, godly. Okay, so it says that Dalid, that's the bittul, that's surrender. Maybe a better word for surrender is harmony, being harmonious with God, of holiness. Oh, and says that's the ability for the Dalid to receive from the Gimel. I'm trying to find out where we are. Okay. So the complete service of us in the world is that we have to be surrendered to the Creator. We have to be in harmony, totally in harmony with the Creator, right? Like if you've ever seen an orchestra or whatever, a sports team, So everybody being in harmony means you have to do your job and not to interfere with other people's jobs. You have to do what you're supposed to do and refrain from what you shouldn't do. Why? Because you're given over to the music or to the team or to the victory, whatever the bigger thing is that's uniting you all. Well, that's the idea of this Daled. The letter Daled is has this little point, and the little point, that's this devotion to something bigger than yourself, harmony with the Creator. That's the Nakuda of Bittel, as it is drawn down, but it has to be drawn down into the world. And into the world means that it's not just remains the letter Yud, the little point in the back over here, but it's drawn down into length, that's the top of the Daled, and width and length coming down. In other words, into the world. So on one hand, you have to be a person that is an ego, and with your qualities and your talents, and that you're a good salesman or a good musician or a good, janitor, whatever you do is good. And on the other hand, at the same time, that you're totally surrendered to the Creator every moment. How can you do both of those two things together? This says because God gives you the ability. That's the job of the Jewish people. God helps you. God helps you. One does not interfere with the other. Exactly the opposite. Each one enhances the other. But if a person is lacking that, hare behold, sof in the end, chaser az, then it's lacking in joining these two points, namely to be wide, to be in the world, is lacking a connection to the Creator of the wideness and being in the world. Until it'll be even lacking in your success itself. I mean, how many people, it's a constant story all the time. You get these people that succeed and then they just destroy themselves. The rare is the person that is very successful. The secret is how a person can be successful and not destroy himself is by charity. If a person gives to others worthy places, and of course it has to be in an orderly way. You have to have someone to organize it, but the whole idea is not to keep it for yourself. That's this little point of Bittul. You want to improve the world until that the separation between them, it can bring, because if you're lacking that awareness that you're just a creation, that awareness that God is giving us everything we have, then it's lacking that little point, then that's a different type of a poverty. That's the little resh. And resh means a poverty which is the opposite of holiness. Something like it was by Korach. Korach, we see, here we go. Korach was the letters, 1 second. 1 minute. Oh yeah, here it goes. Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I wasn't recording. There we got Korach. Korach was the indication of success without being connected to God. Korach had the letters Kuf, Resh, Chet. We're going to see that all those three letters indicate selfishness. Selfishness, not being connected to God. Otiot, Chet, Kuf, Resh. Aval, I guess we talked about this before. I don't remember talking about this before. Okay, Aval, but Kasher, maybe I skipped more than I thought we skipped. I don't think so. Well, this has been sort of a confusing week because we've had so many the power shortages and things like that. Okay, let me just remind what it said. These three letters have their counterpart in holiness. Chet has the counterpart. Chet is a not, so to speak, indicates on selfishness. Its counterpart is the letter Hey. Hey is the same thing as Chet. Remember, that's the difference between chometz and matzah. Matzah has a Hey, and chometz has the same letters, mem tzaddik, but it has a Chet. A Chet doesn't have the hole there. Hole means a person is closed up above, nothing above me. The letter Kuf is also the counterpart of the letter Hey. The letter Hey, the two bottom sticks, the one on the right and the one on the left, are equal. And the letter Kuf, it comes down low. It shows that you're overly connected to the world. The world has too much of a hold on you. That's the letter Kuf coming down into the world, not the letter Hey. And the letter Resh, that's what we're talking about now. It doesn't have that little point in the back of it, which indicates connection to God. Now, just we have to remember that the world is created by means of these letters. So these letters that we're talking about are more real than the world is. So these are, how do you say, tendencies that are in the world that you can take your choice. You can choose if you want. Selfishness, overindulgence, and egotism. You can choose it if you want to. They're represented by these letters, part of the Hebrew alphabet. But kasher, when there is bittul, if a person is aware, thinks that there is God, and that God is creating me, and that God gave the Torah, God cares about me, and that God provides for everything in the world, and all my qualities are God-given, and I have a responsibility to God to use all of my qualities to my best ability. That's what's called bittul, harmony with God. That's the little point in the back of the Dalet. And remember, why are we talking about this Gimel Dalet? Because the month of Sivan, when we received the Torah, that's the third month, Gimel. And the month of Tammuz that we're going into now is Dalet, the fourth month of the year. Okay, so this little point, which is in the back of the Dalet, see the little point over there? This is above these two lines. The Dalet has one line on the top and one line this, but it goes up beyond them. It's more than Miamaila of a Karen. I'm sorry, I didn't see the last letter. Even more than a Karen. Karen is like the stick that goes up and down. And Karen Zavit, I'm sorry. Even more than a Karen Zavit. Karen Zavit is a corner. So we have a corner, and we have the letter Daled, that the top line extends beyond the corner. It says that's the ability of a Jew to connect himself with God and do the impossible. Together with this, we have the two lines. That's like the letter Daled. We have two lines. And the two lines indicate that we're in the world, which the world is long and wide. It has measurements. And then we'll have the complete service of God in both ways, physical and spiritual together, linking them together. That's what the little yud in the back does. Completion of connection between them. And that's the whole point of this fourth month. The fourth month of Tammuz, that's the month of redemption. That's the month that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe got out of prison. The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he was definitely the Moshiach. He had all the qualifications of Moshiach. And his work was continuous. This is one of the signs that a person is disqualified. One of the things that disqualify a person from Moshiach is if he's either killed or if his work didn't succeed. So we see that the previous Rebbe's work is getting more and more, succeeding more and more. So that he was freed from death on the month of Tammuz. Month of Tammuz. The third day of Tammuz was when he was freed from the actual prison, where he could have been killed any time. And the 12th and the 13th, that's when he was freed from exile, where he was, where death was still lurking, but it was much further away than when he was in the prison. So the month of Tammuz was the month that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe was freed. And if you remember, we talked about before that the whole reason that the Iron Curtain fell in 1990, I was in 1990, Gorbachev fell, was only because of what the previous Rebbe did. The previous Rebbe, he put in the first crack in the Iron Curtain. And the reason that it fell for the benefit of everybody, right? Even though Putin doesn't like the idea so much, but I think he's also, in the end, not that disappointed with the outcome, that it ended up that it opened up Russia to the whole world. It opened up the whole world to Russia. but most exactly, it freed the Jewish people in Russia so that they could be exposed. It exposed the Jewish people in Russia to Judaism, and it freed them to do Judaism. And that's to the benefit of the whole world. And that the miracle, which is above nature, that the previous Rebbe was freed from prison, that's this little point we said in the little Daled. That's the godliness, the connection to God. And this was drawn down and transformed the nature of the world, which the world is represented by this, the rest of the letter Daled, wide and long, until that this came to a level of that even Rosh, even the lowest levels, Rosh, which says that's talking about, that's the letter Resh, poverty, Korach, we said, the poverty of the opposite side of the world, that's communism. That opposed holiness with all of its being, it transformed also. Even more, by means of this descent, that the previous Rebbe went into prison in a way that he had with tremendous difficulties. By means of this, it revealed how Imo Anochi Batzora. God said that when the Jewish people suffer, he suffers, and he's suffering with us together. It's Psalm 91. That God suffers together with us. Why does he suffer together with us? Just the fact that there's a world that opposes godliness. This is a suffering for God. That's a suffering for God. Shekai, this refers to God's essence. So also all those prophecies and things in Isaiah that says he suffered for our sins and he was this, it's talking about all the Jewish people, but it's also talking about God. God himself, he's suffering, right, when the Jewish people suffer. So it doesn't make any sense. But on the other hand, all of Judaism doesn't make any sense. That God creates the world and that he chose the Jewish people and he took them out of Egypt and he gave them the Torah. You don't see any indication of that ever happening again. Doesn't it? And that's the basis of Judaism. So the whole thing is a tremendous miracle. It's constant miracles, but to reveal that fact that it's a miracle, that has to be done by the tzaddikim, and especially the tzaddikim that suffer. And by means of him, the previous Rebbe being in the suffering, is it had an effect on the whole entire communist regime. Shalomayla Mikol Gedarim, which is above all of the whole, this is from a level which is above the whole, anything in creation, even spiritual creation. That's this little point in the back of the Daled that transformed the Resh into a Daled. And that shows that Imo Anochi B'Tzorah, that God said, I am with the Jewish people in their difficulties. In other words, God, his essence, that's the opposite of the whole chain of creation of up and below. God all of a sudden is found in below. He's found in the lowest wave. That's not God's place, right? God's supposed to be up in the heavens. That's where God belongs. This is not, it's not so. Where God belongs is in this physical world. And so in order to do that, God had to be revealed even in the prison over there in what is it, in Leningrad, Spolenka prison, where they were just killing people day and night, torturing people. The previous Rebbe writes about it, and he writes in Lekuti Diburim, there's a book called Lekuti Diburim, Tractate Hell. What is it? The Masechet Gehenom, he writes over there. And he talks about what happened over there in the days that he was in prison, and how the sadistic people that were there. And also in this situation, even the lowest place, that what's called the backside of God, can be revealed the letter Yud. That's the little point in the Daled, until it's drawn down and attaches the highest levels to the lowest levels. From what we said before, we can learn several things. Whether in a general way of serving God, or whether in a way of ourselves, working on ourselves, or working in the world. Whether we're talking about doing the Torah and the commandments, whether we're talking about regular mundane activities that everyone in the world is occupied in, making a living, having your family, being with friends, making a living, The Gam also b'miyuchad, especially in the connection of Gimel Tammuz, the third day of Tammuz, in the service of spreading out Torah and the commandments. What can we learn from this? And especially that we have a commandment to put the staff of Aaron as a sign for all generations. That God chose Aaron to be the high priest. It says, Mish Nignas Aaron, when the ark was hidden by, what was it, Chezkiel? No, what was this? I forgot. Yeshayahu, Melech, King Yeshayahu, this was like, 50 years, something like 7 years before the temple was destroyed. So he hid the ark with the tablets in it in a special place that King Solomon made when he built the first temple. King Solomon sensed that the first temple was going to be destroyed, so he built this hidden place way down deep. So when the ark with the tablets in it was hidden there, also the staff of Aaron was there. And the staff of Aaron had its almonds and its flowers. As we learned before, the whole natural process was there on the staff of Aaron. So it's understood, therefore, that from this there is a teaching, an eternal teaching for all generations. Since that each and every Jew, all the Jewish people, that we are a portion from the nation of priests. We're a nation of priests, right? This was said right before God gave the Torah. Atem tiyuli mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh. Right before God gave the Torah, he said, you are a nation of priests, the Jewish people. And they said, these are the words that God said, and then he gave the Torah. So every single Jew, me and you included, we are all priests, we're Kohanim. And not only are we Kohanim, but even more, we are Kohanim Gadolim. We are high priests, right? That's why the staff of Aaron, who was the high priest, is put into the Holy of Holies. It's put into the Holy of Holies of each and every one of us. Each and every Jew is a holy temple. And inside of us, buried down deep there, is the ark with the staff. Like the Rambam said, not just the tribe of Levi alone, but every single person who decides to devote his soul to serving the creator of the universe and improving the world, making blessings. It says every single person is holy of holies. Here the Rambam even seems to indicate that this is talking about non-Jews as well. It says, call ish v'ish, every single human being, if he wants to devote himself to making the world a good place and bring blessings. So it's understood that every single Jew for sure has to be also something like the staff of Aaron, namely with not just the almonds on it, but also the flowers and the buds, and in other words, every detail of our lives that brings us to serve God should also be holy. What can we learn from this in a general way? And I don't know if we're going to finish. Let's see, we'll see. Learning in a general way, even though that the service of a Jew has to be in a way of accepting the yoke of God. We do what God says. We don't ask questions. It's above understanding. We're serving God. God is above understanding. So everything we do should be unquestioning, right? In a way, and we have to do it quickly. Zerizus, right? Like a soldier. Don't ask questions. Yours is not the reason why. Yours is just to do, right? To do. So it says, often Zerizus, Shalomayla, which is above any limitation or boundaries. Bekol meodecha, like we say twice, 3 times a day, 4 times a day. We say we have to love God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your might. All of your might, with your whole being. You don't leave anything for yourself. This brings to ma'od, a blessing of God, which is from above. We could think that maybe this expresses the completion of serving God, like it says, if God would have commanded us to chop wood, we would chop wood all day. Instead of putting on tefillin and learning Torah, we chop wood. We just do whatever God says. So you might think that's enough. That's good enough. You just do what God says. Perfect. Says the Rebbe, no. We have a teaching over here that there were flowers. That after the foundation of serving God unquestioningly, Unquestionably, that's like the almonds. But also, you have to have also something which is another thing which is above understanding, and that is all the steps that bring to that. You have to spread out with all of your talents and all of your abilities into your whole entire being until this will give fruits. It says there will come out flowers and buds and then almonds. In other words, all the steps that you use in order to devote yourself to God, those steps also have to be devoted and used for the Creator, natural things, your own personality, in a way that your nature and your existence become part of your quickness. In one simple way, what this means is don't lose your sense of humor. That's one what it means. It was a lot of times a person can become religious, and the main thing is just to do the Torah and do the commandments, and then this, and then that's it. There's no, no joking around, nothing outside. There's no me. There's no me anymore. It's just, the Lord and His Torah, and that's it. Says the Rebbe, okay, there's benefits to that. There's benefits to that, but it's incomplete. It's immature. It's an immature way of serving God. You have to use all of your talents and all of your powers in order to serve the Creator, right? And all of your nature, to be a natural person, to be genuinely nice, to care about what's going on, to change with the situation. People need help. You have to help an old lady across the street. You have to stand up to give her a chair. Doesn't make any difference. Only Jew, only a person that's of my group, right? It'll put you in a difficult situation. So, okay, you'll find a way out. Don't worry about it. God will help. Okay, so you can, of course, you might make mistakes, that's perfectly okay. And you learn from your mistakes. And that everything that a person does with all of your natural talents and quality and character and personality should be in a quick way in order to serve God. Similarly, will be in learning also, certainly also in the natural things that a person does, not just in Torah, and the natural things that a person does in Torah. Okay, so we do this. Okay, let's go. Especially regarding to making money. First of all, a person, as we have to learn from the staff of Aaron, that what can we learn? Learning what's called Senate. Like also another one of the things that's hidden in the ark over there, together with the staff of Aaron, was also a bottle of the manna. They put a bottle. Usually the manna went away in the morning. It was evaporated, but this didn't. It didn't go away. Shagam hi nisheret, but here it remained in this bottle, and it's together with the ark for all generations. That when the Jewish people that they came to Jeremiah the prophet, and he said, "Learn Torah." The Jewish people said, "Listen, we got to make money. We can't leave our job and learn Torah. How are we going to make money? We got kids at home. We have to feed them." So Jeremiah took out the bottle of the manna, and he said to them, "Look, this is how your forefathers were provided for in the desert. God has a lot of ways to provide you food. Similarly, also, you can learn from the staff of Aaron, that the staff of Aaron shows that it grew up in a miraculous way, quickly. Also, the same thing with making money. Don't worry about making money. You should work. You should have a job, but don't go crazy. It shouldn't interfere with your times of prayer, with the times of learning Torah. When you're working, it shouldn't interfere with you saying a word of Torah to somebody. On the other hand, God will bless you in everything that you do. You have to do. Drawing down a livelihood, it has to be done in a natural way, like the growth of these almonds grew up. They grew up, first of all, there was flowers, and then there was buds, and then there was the fruits. This came by the way of masav matan, that you do business and your deals that you make, or whatever, are done in a faithful way, according to God. You don't cheat. You don't. I know there was a person, I can't remember his name, but this was a long time ago, if I remember his name, he was a Chassid Chabad, and he worked in printing, and he had a big business with some of a supplier, I think from Lebanon, that supplied him from You'll see if the details are right. Anyway, he supplied him with paper, and then there was like, or Lebanon or Jordan. I think it was with Jordan, and then there was the war. I think the 6 Day War, the Yom Kippur War, and all the routes of transportation were blocked. They couldn't. And so in those days they didn't have even the wire. I think you couldn't even wire money over there from Israel. It was like the whole thing was tabbed. So he owed somebody in Jordan, or it was Jordan, I think it was. He owed him a lot of money, $10,000, whatever. So he found some sort of a way to give to some Arab or someone that lived there, that he has a friend of it, anyway, to get him the money. And he could have easily just reneged on the deal. Listen, we got no connection, and that's it. You're tough luck. If it would have been the other way around, I'm sure that it would have been my tough luck. So that's the world. But he didn't. He owed money. He paid the money back. I think it was Rabbi Glick, I think, but I don't remember. I think so, though. I think that was one. Anyway, so when you make money, you have to believe that God is the one that's providing the money. Like it says that in Jerusalem Talmud, it says that the Israeli farmers, they would pray to God and then they would plant seeds. Even though there's millions of farmers in the world, they don't pray to God at all, and they plant seeds and it grows up. The Jewish person says, no. My fruit, my plants grow up because God makes them grow. And this makes the vessel to receive the blessing of God, and that livelihood comes in a miraculous way. But in a miracle like this, that it's in nature. That even the non-Jews will help and benefit from our blessings that we get. Like we can see this especially now, that God blessed the Jewish people that they should receive with less and less effort, and in a way of calmness, that they will be able to work and that the world will help them. I mean, like the way it was in Russia, it was like almost impossible to make money. In Tsarist Russia, Jews couldn't work. As soon as they got successful in one thing, they made it forbidden. They had to work in another place. They got successful in farming, so they said you can only. And now it says the Rebbe, you can see that the Jews succeed everywhere, and they have money, and they give charity, and etc. As we will continue, God willing, tomorrow.